Hello everybody, this is Hector again with another movie review. This time I will be talking about the film Gravity. I saw this movie about a month ago and I'm happy to say that I enjoyed it a lot and I will be giving it a positive review. And as always, it will be spoiler free. The movie stars Sandra Bullock as Dr. Ryan Stone, a medical engineer on her first shuttle mission, and also George Clooney as Matt Kowalski, a veteran astronaut on his last flight before retiring. Well, they are the two most important characters. We see other astronauts on that mission, but they are only on screen for a few minutes and only at the beginning of the movie. Also, we have the voice of Ed Harris as Mission Control. He was an interesting choice because he has been in other space movies before, like Apollo 13 and The Right Stuff. I didn't really recognize his voice, I'm sorry to say, but maybe I was just too distracted by the visuals to really pay attention to it. Visuals that are very impressive, by the way. The movie opens with what seems to be a routine spacewalk, and Dr. Stone is seen working on a satellite, very close to the shuttle and talking with the other astronauts, especially Matt Kowalski. Like I said before, George Clooney's character is retiring, and he appears extremely jaded going about his last mission. He keeps telling Houston that there's a problem and then starts telling funny stories. It all appears routine, but of course, disaster strikes. Apparently, the Russians had an accident in space, and a large amount of deadly debris was sent across space, straight into the shuttle and the satellite where Dr. Stone is working. Within minutes, the shuttle is struck by the debris and torn to pieces, and she is thrown out into deep space by a large piece of equipment. Needless to say, the rest of the film is mostly about Dr. Stone trying to survive and find her way home. There's also a subplot that deals with her daughter who may or may not be dead. I found that storyline interesting because this movie not only deals with her survival, but also the motivation behind it, or lack thereof. And well, her daughter plays a very important role in that part of the movie. Also, like I said before, the space shuttle from the United States was destroyed, but there seem to be other space stations from other countries floating around, and they also play a role in the rest of the film. Okay, I think I'll stop there because I'm afraid I will spoil the movie if I go into further detail. You just have to see it. The whole movie is exciting from beginning to end. Even when it's quiet, it's still exciting because the visuals are really amazing and you can't help but be blown away by them. If you liked what you saw in the trailer, that was only a taste of what you will see here. Now, going back to the actors in this movie, it is no secret that the main character is played by Sandra Bullock, and therefore this is her movie. She is the star of this project, and she does a very good job all the way through, as we follow her character from a peaceful spacewalk or routine shuttle mission to trying to survive total disaster in the vacuum of space. Actually, speaking of disaster, I think a movie like this would have been a terrible idea with the wrong actress. It would have been a complete failure, because if we don't believe what the main character is going through, the whole movie falls apart. It would have been so easy to get this movie wrong. Fortunately, Sandra Bullock was chosen and she carries the film like no other. We truly feel for her the whole way through as she goes from one impossible to survive situation to the next. This movie received a lot of Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and Best Actress for Sandra Bullock, of course. It's going to be very interesting to see if she actually wins. Personally, I think she deserves it. I really enjoyed her performance and I really believed that she was actually in space and in terrible danger. Under some other director or a less talented actress, this entire project would have turned out looking all fake and boring as hell, not to mention absurd. So I'm very happy about the final product here. This was indeed a great movie. We'll have to wait and see about those Oscars though. Now, let me mention briefly that I did not see this movie in 3D or IMAX. However, I don't think that actually detracted from the experience. The movie looked great. Besides, I hate 3D with a passion. When it comes to seeing a movie in 3D, I have no idea what I'm going to get. Half of the time I've seen a movie in 3D, it's been excellent. The other half, it's been absolute crap. So I don't even risk it anymore. I don't really watch 3D movies anymore unless I have no choice. I mentioned 3D because this movie is apparently one of those rare movies in which 3D actually works, and it works well. Since the movie came out, I've heard so many positive things about the quality of the 3D and how it truly makes the movie come alive, but still I wasn't persuaded. Like I already mentioned, the film looked great in 2D, so I don't personally believe that you have to see it in 3D or IMAX to enjoy it. Well, that's it for this review. This movie was a lot of fun to watch, not only because it had great acting and a good story, but because it was a powerful visual experience that only the silver screen can deliver. I have seen a lot of movies about space, but even so, this movie still managed to show me something new and surprise me. As far as complaints, I don't really think I can find anything worth mentioning. I mean, the movie's only about an hour and a half, and I wish it would have been a little bit longer, but that's pretty much it. However, some moviegoers and critics criticized Sandra Bullock for some of her performance, especially during the initial disaster around the space shuttle, and how hysterical she became during the entire event. Such a criticism seems to be based on the belief that a real woman astronaut, or any other woman working in space for that matter, whatever her official title might be, just wouldn't act that way in a real disaster scenario, that she wouldn't become such an emotional mess because of her training at NASA, her strong character, or whatever. Apparently, Sandra Bullock's performance wasn't only unrealistic, according to some critics, but also insulting to female audiences because the movie showed a woman not being able to keep it together under pressure, at least initially, and being unprofessional. Some even viewed her performance as condescending, trying to make the female character needlessly weak and scared, and at times helpless, just to make her appear more human, quote unquote, and more relatable to the audience. My opinion on the matter is, well, I think critics had a point, but it doesn't really hold much weight, no pun intended. Judging an entire film by how a female character acted in the opening scene is just not right. It's not fair. I will not give the movie away, but Sandra Bullock's character does have a character arc. She changes throughout the movie. So those critics really need to see the movie again if they think her performance is weak. Also, how can someone judge her performance unrealistic? Based on what? Are disasters in space involving female astronauts so commonplace that all of us know how they are supposed to react? Or what's realistic and what isn't? It's pretty easy to see a movie in a comfortable movie theater and think that you would never panic that way or become so hysterical in such a disaster scenario. But who knows for sure? The movie depicts a terrible accident or disaster in space and trying to survive not only the initial event, but also the deadly environment afterwards. Male or female, I think such a scenario would scare anybody, training or no training, experience or not. Sandra Bullock's performance made perfect sense to me. In fact, under the circumstances, I think she did pretty well. And like I said, her character changes as the movie goes on, so that complaint about her performance being out of character is invalid, or at the very least, weak. If you haven't seen the movie yet, it's still in theaters, so find it and give it a chance. This is one of those films that you just have to see on the big screen. Okay, so we are now at the end of the review. So when it comes to the rating, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I give this movie a 9. Thanks for listening, and until next time. Bye.